Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson. She's the People's Party of Canada running in the Burnaby South by-election on Monday, February 25th. Her website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Laura-Lynn, welcome to the Goddard Report.
Oh, thank you so much, Jim. What a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Laura-Lynn, one of the reasons we wanted you on the show is because you were not invited to a Burnaby South candidate's appearance on breakfast television in Vancouver. Why weren't you invited?
Well, that is a really good question. I mean, in the debates, I was considered a formidable force. Some people call me Mike Tyson. I was really honored. You know, I was up against NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, and he, you know, I think that I called him out on some of his name calling and his inaccurate way of presenting facts. And so I thought, you know, that I would be definitely considered to be a candidate that should be on the roster, but they chose not to do that. I mean, left-wing media, being supported by Trudeau, may not value my message of freedom for Canadians.
Do you think with the Trudeau government giving nearly $600 million to the major media in Canada, including Rogers Communications, I would imagine, was that a factor in excluding you from this appearance?
Well, it may very well be. I'm not going to be high on Trudeau's list of favorite people running for the federal elections in Canada because we have called out what he's done. All of the millions of dollars, the $595 in an election year, $1 million to, you know, trusted media. I'm guessing you're not on that list. And so,
no, I am not.
Exactly, you know, and this is not a positive thing. Why are you paying media? This really compromises the entire freedom of that process. And it puts people in an awkward position where they sort of have to feel obligated to present Mr. Trudeau in the best light, and that's why we're not seeing even all of the, you know, the facts on the SNC Laura-Lynn. You know, he'll get a bit of an easy ride until it becomes clear that you can't give him an easy ride on anything. You know, now Canadians, they wonder about every news story. Is it true, or is it just a grant application of Justin Trudeau, you know, and his failed Liberal government? You know, what are we really hearing? And you have to rely on alternate media. And so I appreciate very much what you do. This is the grassroots of our Canadian system where we can hear truth on shows like yours.
Do you think the large payout was an attempt to influence the media going into the federal election in October?
I can't help but see it that way. It's an election year. He's doing horribly. If you're on the right, you just think, what has this guy done to our country? He's ruining everything. I was interviewing with a global guy the other day, and he doesn't understand. Like, what do you mean we're losing our freedoms? Well, of course they don't understand that. If you are on the left, you don't think anything's wrong with Canada because, you know, I mean, you don't even stand for values and principles anyway. So if there is, you know, if nobody's, you know, talking against your freedom of everything and everything goes, then what do you know about freedoms? But the people who value traditional family values and who stand for religious freedom, freedom of conscience, freedom of thought, freedom of speech, these are the people that are going, wow, you're not even allowed to say certain things anymore in our Canada, or you'll be targeted. And that actually happened to me. Jim, I was targeted when I began to stand against the sex curriculum that's in our schools, the sex activist curriculum, and where they are telling every little boy and every little girl that they can be gender fluid. And that's from starting in kindergarten all the way up to grade 12. And I really wondered, is that right? Because that is very offensive, actually, to Muslims and Sikhs and Christians, and actually, as we found out, to many of the LGBTQ themselves do not ascribe to gender fluid ideology in schools. And so when I began to stand up to that, well, they targeted me, Jim, and it was quite merciless. They called my work, the 700 Club Canada. I was on as a national television host. They called the CRTC, requesting that I be taken off the air. They called Vision TV, Joy TV. They then called all the advertisers that were, putting funds in to support these shows. And they said, hey, how can you have this homophobe and transphobe? And I'm like, hey, I'm not. I probably have more gay friends and trans friends than most people. And that's because they've all written me privately, hey, please don't release my name, but boy, do we ever support you. We don't think they should be turning, little kids and making it so popular, to be trans these days. And of course, I really had to stand by my convictions. I lost my job over that. I was targeted. I had nasty emails. I've had death threats. And I began to say, my gosh, what has happened to Canada? Why is one ideology being set up in our nation? Why are we not free? What happened to freedom? Hey, I can be a Sikh person and you can be an atheist and we can all get along in Canada. That has been lost. And when I began to see that, I said, who has got courage in this nation? And I began to seek, the ways in which I could have a voice, in the land. And so I started, going for the MP position.
So you wouldn't consider yourself to be prejudiced. You just think that people should be free to choose and not be told what to do.
I do, Jim. I think that in Canada we're so lucky, we don't throw gays and lesbians off the top of roofs like they do in some lands, in some countries in the world, right? You can't be anything in Canada. You can be gay, lesbian, transsexual, bisexual, polyamorous, pansexual. I didn't even know the meaning of those words, Jim, but I found out, I don't exactly want to. You can be any of the 102 genders that they are now ascribing, that people can be in the land. I happen to only believe in 2 genders, but I love Canada because I give freedom to all, Canadians, that they live, according to their values, according to what matters to them. All I'm asking back in return is that you must have respect as well for my position. I might believe differently than you, but what I'm finding in Canada, Jim, is that if you have a certain perspective, you're not accepted anymore. But those same people that do not stand for my position will call me a bigot and will say that I'm not allowing for their freedom, but in actual fact I am. It's perfectly fine with me for you to live your life, and whomever you would like to sleep with, go ahead and do it. But it is not okay. It is not okay that you tell other people's children what your ideology is and speak that in the land and have state-run schools telling children this. And so that's where I realized there was a problem. And I'm not even sure if you know this, Jim, but, I of course approached the Conservative Party to run with them.
And what was their response?
Well, their response was that the EDAs loved me. The Electoral District Association said, wow, she's a star candidate. She's good on media. She's a professional speaker. She's an author. She's traveling the country, and knows a lot of people. She's fantastic. Let's run her. But as soon as I got run up the chain, then they didn't want me. They didn't want the controversy. They didn't want somebody who was standing against gender fluid ideology. Not because the Conservatives don't believe it, but because they are cowards. They will not speak against this ideology for fear of the backlash. And it concerns me for Canada. It concerns me that we are cowering and that we are bowing and that we are losing our freedoms because we're unwilling to speak. And so there's beginning to be a rise against that. And after they rejected me in New Westminster, BC, and then in Burnaby South, I felt like I had a little mini depression, Jim, because I said, if this is not the party that will stand up, then we've got nobody. But somebody told me about this guy. His name was Maxime Bernier. They told me about a guy who stood for all Canadians, who stood for what we value, our traditional values, for freedom to believe and to have a conscience, about what you think is important. And so when I contacted Maxime, I explained to him, he didn't know, what was happening with the curriculum and the resources that are out there. And he said, well, we're for the people. You have a right to believe this. He stands for all people. And me and Maxime, we don't agree on everything the same. I would say, he's tended to be, somewhat, a very libertarian, right? And I think that's a wonderful thing. And we might disagree on some policies in Canada, but he said, I respect your right to have your opinions and to stand for these certain values because that's, what is good for you. And he also respects other Canadian values, other ethnicities' values, other people who have different religious values. He respects them as well. Suddenly in my heart, I had hope again, Jim. I had hope that Canada will maybe have an opportunity for the voice of the people to be heard again. And I can tell you one thing. I don't care what they call me. I'm way past that. I've had so many threats and nasty things thrown my way, lies, brazen lies in the media that I'm over that now. I'm like, give me freedom or give me death. We need to have freedom. We need to have the freedom to be able to express our perspectives and not be afraid. And, I had to face that with Jagmeet Singh, calling me out as a racist and, even a homophobe and things like that. And he said that I was inciting violence, actually, in the last debate. And I wish I'd called him out on that, but I was just so taken back by it. These people, they're inciting violence. I have never incited violence in my lifetime against anyone. I don't believe in violence. I simply believe that as Canadians, we've got to be able to have the opportunity to believe and to think according to our conscience the way that we want to. That is Canada. That's what's beautiful about Canada, and that's what we're losing. And I am here to stand with Maxime Bernier for the people of Canada.
If elected, would the People's Party get rid of corporate welfare, including major multi-million-dollar payouts to major media companies?
Absolutely. Maxime really stands for this. When he's saying that he wants to lower taxes, he's looking for, how do we lower taxes for the grassroots people and yet have money, to run the country? And yes, lowering taking away corporate welfare is one of the ways to do it. Why should everyone be bailed out if their business is, failing?
Did any of the candidates that appeared on breakfast television stand up for you and call for you to be included on the program?
Well, that would sure have been nice if they stand for a free Canada. But no, none of them did. I mean, I've had problems with all of the candidates because, Mr. Jay Shin, who was running for the Conservatives, he put out a terrible flyer, saying that I stood for legalized, marijuana and injection sites. And I don't stand for that. And, it's just a sad day in politics when lies are allowed to be said about another person and what they stand for. I did report it to the commissioner, and the commissioner said, well, we're leaving a lot of latitude, for democratic process. And I didn't realize that democratic process means lies and corruption and deception.
Well, normally isn't that libelous? Isn't that slander to say somebody believes in something that they don't?
I really believe it is libelous, and I'm actually looking into, after the election, perhaps holding some people accountable on a different front. So Elections Canada would not support me. They didn't want to touch it. But what he said is provably wrong. It's a provable lie. He sent it out to a community, of Burnaby South, who largely does not support more drugs in our society. And I spoke with Maxime about this, and he knows my platform, and he knows that. He actually voted against the legalization of marijuana at one point, and even wanted to perhaps raise the age limit of it being able to be purchased and whatnot. And he's a good man. He's a solid family guy with values, but he's also a libertarian. So hey, in Canada, if you want to smoke some pot, now you can, and it's legalized. that, we're not going to run any legislation on that because the toothpaste is out of the tube, is what Maxine says. How are we going to go backwards on this?
If those candidates at the Breakfast TV meeting would not stand up for you, what are the chances they'd stand up for the people of Burnaby South?
Well, this is a very good question, Jim. If they stand up for truth and what's right and for freedom in Canada, how will they end up standing up for the people? I know I'm going to stand for the people because I've had to stand up for people already. I've had to stand up against some cultural things that are really coming against freedom in this land. I think that the NDP leader, he's stuck in his ideology. So he's been lecturing and scolding the people of Burnaby South, that they have to buy his ideology, and that's the wrong approach. With Lee and Shin, they won't stand up for anything. They'll just toe the party line, and the people of Burnaby South will be left out in the cold. And you could see this when I put Mr. Shin, who's for the Conservative Party, I put him on the spot, and I said, what is your position on, on abortion in this land? Because we once upon a time thought that conservatives stood for life, right? But they don't. They've gone silent on the entire issue. Andrew Scheer has not allowed his members to bring forward anything on life and life issues, and now they've become the just a mamsy-pamsy party that doesn't represent the grassroots people who have put them in office. People are waking up and they're going, "What happened? What happened? Who's supporting the grassroots people?"
Burnaby South might be one of the most culturally diverse ridings in British Columbia. I think something like 130 languages are spoken in the schools of Burnaby. Burnaby South, are the people there supportive of your platform and policies?
Yes, they sure are. Our volunteers, when I look across my Facebook pages, all the ethnicities, all the different people, with different religions even that have just come alongside of us and been supportive of what the People's Party of Canada stands for. The support has been so overwhelming that we've been shocked. And in fact, Gurmont Grewal, he was Member of Parliament, elected 3 times, and he said to me, Laura-Lynn, we never had this kind of support. Jim, something's going on in the nation. Something is shaking the nation. And people are saying, this is the party that's finally listening. And this is the party we can finally put some hope in, that there's going to be integrity restored to Parliament. And the supporters are just, they're so amazing. I mean, they've been in tears, they've hugged me, they thank me. They thank me over and over and over for speaking, common sense. And I found out, Jim, that common sense, it is just not common anymore. And so we're beginning to sound like a revolutionary party when all we're doing is saying, hey, let's just allow people to feel and believe, what is right for them in their heart. Like, what a novel idea to let democracy actually be democracy.
Would you say the People's Party is more of a middle-of-the-road party? You wouldn't really conservative or not really liberal, something else?
I don't think that we're middle of the road. I think we're radical, but we're radical almost in being open to what everybody believes for themselves. We don't tell people how to think. The Liberal Party tells you how to think. The Liberal Party tells you if you want to run for us, you have to believe these certain things. Justin Trudeau believes that he can put out a summer jobs program, and anybody who wants to get access to some great help over the summer, let's say for summer camps, this is a government program that's been put out. And in order to get that kind of access, you have to tick all the boxes. You have to say that you're, pro-abortion and that you're pro-LGBTQ issues and all of this. So you have to sign on to their ideology in order to access any funds. And, that's just not okay with Canadians. Even if they are pro-abortion. They're like, but why do we have to sign on to your way of thinking to access government funds where we are the taxpayers? How is that okay? And then you've got the centrist party, with the conservatives who are just no longer representing values. And we've got Andrew Scheer who, openly says that he's pro-life, but he's shut everybody down. I don't know who he's listening to, but he is getting the worst advice ever. So we're actually coming on board. People are calling me far right. I actually don't think I'm super far right. I just think I have values and standards and traditional beliefs that I'm finding resonate with the nation. I have been contacted now from every single province in this nation with people saying, wow, we support you. Thank you for standing up. You're a hero. Like, people think I'm like speaking some kind of crazy talk, like, wow. But all I'm saying is what everybody's thinking underneath it all, Jim. And it's, what I call it? It's the polite majority are suddenly being emboldened to be a little bit more, to speak a little bit more of what they stand for, to be more assertive.
We'll have more with Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson right after this.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson. The leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, of course, is running in Burnaby South to become a member of Parliament finally. Where does he live, and should voters take that into consideration?
Well, Jagmeet Singh, he got booed on our last debate because he says, my wife and I live in Burnaby. And there's just nothing that smacks of authenticity with this, right? Because he looked across Canada and he went, okay, where do I think I have a secure riding, right? And so Singh said he wanted to run in Ontario, and just recently, he was parachuted into the Burnaby South, and on Tuesday morning he'll be heading back there. He'll be heading back to Ontario, we predict, because he won't need to be in Burnaby South anymore if he loses the election. Sorry, Jagmeet, we say, but Burnaby South has booed you in the last couple of debates, and it seems like they aren't buying, what he's saying. And I just believe that in order to best represent your area, I think that the true, what an MP stands for, a member of Parliament representing your area that you're familiar with the good people that you think, you know the issues and you understand, and you can handle things from a federal level. So, it's very funny. He got booed. It took away like a minute of his time to go through this whole process of being booed. Very funny.
I lived in that riding for 36 years. I don't recall seeing him anywhere around Metrotown or along East Hastings.
You lived there, Jim. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm just newly moved to New Westminster.
Fantastic.
But so I go back far enough to know about Sven Robinson and the NDP roots. But hasn't Burnaby South become a whole different kind of riding now?
Well, I think it has. The largest group is the Chinese, and these are very traditional people that are here in the riding, and also there's very large churches. There's people with strong convictions about things, and so that combined with the fact that the NDP is doing so terribly, if the NDP wants Jagmeet Singh to win this riding and keep on being the leader, why would the director of communications, his director of communications, resign the week that we have an election? That would be terrible. That would be like Maxime Bernier is running for something, and his MPs go, yeah, we're quitting. We're not going to run. We know we don't have a chance. That's what's been happening all around Jagmeet's, election year. Everyone's bailing ship. they're all like jumping the ship. So I do not know what is going on. It's like they're stabbing him in the back while he's in the middle of trying to get this. And that's because there is no trust for his leadership. When he's out there calling people names and, doing and holding some of the positions that he holds, I just don't think it's resonating with Canadians now.
The Liberal candidate in Burnaby South wants the UN to take over the internet. What's your feelings on that?
Well, that was an unbelievable moment in the campaign when Richard Lee, wants to give all of this. But I mean, that's typical of the Liberals, right? Justin Trudeau wants to give our sovereignty away to the United Nations, and with this global compact on migration, I mean, I don't understand. Richard Lee, he's an immigrant, from communist China. You'd think that he would value, freedom. There was some media about him, sitting at the head table of, the China Daily, and, sitting at the head table of the China Daily, and, so what are his affiliations with this? Who on earth wants our internet, governed by the United Nations trying to silence? Well, who are they going to silence? Whoever they don't agree with. That's not okay. I mean, if we have any regulations on the internet, I think it should be for bad stuff. It should be for pornography and things like that. Like, let's try to get some stuff on that. But, you look at what the kids are going through these days. But really, we want freedom in Canada. We want less government. We want more freedom for the people. That's what the People's Party of Canada stands for. And what goes along with that is personal responsibility. And I've had the opportunity to, to spend some quality time with Maxime, this last, weekend. And I have had nothing but, growth in my respect for this man, who is a personally responsible man, who is an authentic man, who tells the truth, who at every meeting that we've been at, do you know what he says? He says, I just want all of you to know that you can record everything I'm saying, you can repeat anything I'm saying, because what I say behind closed doors is the same thing that I'm going to say in front of the people. This is amazing. This is amazing. He is a new kind of politician. He's an authentic politician, and it's resonating with the masses.
Is the Conservative candidate running on the Conservative platform? And if he is, what is that Conservative platform?
Well, I think it's hard to get anybody to put what's in their platform, because I think that Andrew Scheer holds up his, he licks his finger, holds it in the wind, and says, which way is the wind blowing? That's the way, that I'm going to hold my policies. And so how can you actually, know what you really believe? Jay Shin, was, put on the spot about his positions. And that's exactly what's happening, is they're all on the spot. They're all trying to figure out, who believes what about what. Maxime Bernier was the first one to point out that the Global Compact on migration was a really bad idea, and he was talking about it, long before Andrew Scheer ever brought it up, basically heading into the signing of it. Andrew Scheer goes, oh, let's do some polls. What do people think? Oh, they think it's bad. Oh, yeah, you know what? So do we then. We think it's bad too. So let's put out a press release about that, and we're going to say how terrible it is. Well, Maxime Bernier, he had this ability to kind of, look at the facts and to look at how that fits in with Canadian ideology, with Canadian positions on freedom. And then he says, wow, this is not good. We're giving away our sovereignty. We have to be, more patriotic in this land. Trudeau is saying that, we don't have core values. We do have core values. We love our families. We love truth and integrity. We love freedom. We love to be able to worship, Yeah, we don't want to just, pander with the, the wave of political correctness. We are not a politically correct party, and that is what is shocking the nation.
No core values. You say that to the average Canadian. You might as well join the U.S. then. And when somebody says, what's the difference between a Canadian or an American? Ask any Canadian.
Right.
Yeah, you know the difference.
Absolutely.
It's shocking he doesn't. We hear there's some new solutions with a high success rate that can get people off the hard drugs that are killing 4 or 5 people a day. across British Columbia. Would the People's Party be open to looking at some of these new ideas?
Well, it's not on our platform. So whatever we do decide to do, it's going to be up to Maxime and his members to work together to see what do we, feel that we can contribute to that conversation. I know that in British Columbia, the opiate crisis is a really big deal. We want to see lives saved. I personally advocate for wholeness and, getting through it, getting well, and recovering from drug use.
We certainly need a lot more treatment. We really do need a lot more treatment centers, don't we?
Yes, we do. I have worked with kids, high-risk youth, that some of them came right from the juvenile detention center, and I really value a lot of recovery programs, and I do know that sometimes it's hard to get into one. You can phone a whole bunch of homes and they don't have beds, they don't have room, they're poorly funded, and yet the government will think, free injection sites, let's just enable them to keep doing it. And, some people feel that this is part of harm reduction. It may be, but true harm reduction is helping, really, truly helping these people that get trapped into a drug and addiction cycle to be free of it. And I would like to see freedom in that regard. And it's not on our platform, but I had good conversations with Maxime. We want people to be happy, prosperous, safe, well, and healthy in our nation.
We'll have more with Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson right after this.
Grand Portage Resources recently completed the 2018 drill program on its 100% controlled Herbert Gold Discovery property located in the prolific Juneau Belt in southeast Alaska. Drill results are expected through late 2018. Past drill results included numerous multi-ounce gold assays on multiple veins. Grand Portage trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson. The People's Party is in favor of the oil pipeline to BC. Is that pipeline to get oil to Canadians or for export? And do you think it would lower gasoline prices in the lower mainland where we have the highest gasoline prices in North America?
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly hope so. I was a reporter several years ago, and I actually went around to gas stations, and I was, trying to make a joke of it almost, like, why, with all of the oil and gas that we have in Canada, why are we paying these astronomical prices, for oil? We need to look at, real tangible solutions and jobs for people. Pipelines are projects of national importance, and the federal government is completely failing to get the job done. Maxime Bernier has a very strong and persuasive argument about why it's time for a new approach, and a PPC government is going to put a high priority on pipelines. We don't want to just be able to just trade with the United States, which, now our trading is, it's quite strange. But we want to also open up the markets across the world, and this is the best way to do it.
Would the People's Party prefer to have the pipeline in some other place than a populated city like Vancouver?
I suppose. I think that, there are experts who know where the pipelines should go, how to have the least impact on the environment, how to navigate the issues, with the indigenous people. And it's certainly safer than the railways. We've seen what's just happened in the last week, over in Manitoba. There has to be safe ways to harness our resources and to make that a good thing for Canadians. So, unfortunately, sometimes there are areas that have to, you have to go through. There might be more highly populated areas, but I leave that to experts. I mean, I am not on the ground studying all of these things, but I do know that we want something that is good for Canadians, good for our economy, good for harnessing our resources, and for it to be done in a safe manner.
Do you have campaign donors you would be beholden to if elected?
I don't. Our funds are just coming in from good everyday people. They are seeing this new party and they're hopeful again that the process of politics could maybe be a wonderful thing for our nation and would stand for the people. I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm looking forward to that temptation, Jim, one day where somebody says, hey, I'm going to give you $1 billion if you'll just vote, my way. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, no, Maxime Bernier will not let me do that. We do not pander to small interest groups. I actually think we have a lot of that going on in our nation. We have, groups that have lots of money and they get their ideology and their way, put into all kinds of things, all through our, provincial governments and our federal governments. I don't think that's the way. We are government for the people, less government, more about the people. And I'm tired of corruption, Jim. I am tired of people who are being bought and sold in politics because of money. No backroom deals.
If you had a government with less government interference and regulation, does Canada have the potential to become an economic powerhouse?
Well, I think if we would manage our resources, we have a potential to become an economic powerhouse. Canada is so incredible. Look at the natural resources we have. Why are, a lot of families within $200 of insolvency? Why do we have a homeless issue the way that we have? Why do we have those that are struggling? This whole issue that's going on with Alberta and the convoy going across, they were treated so poorly when they arrived on Ottawa's door by the Trudeau government. But Maxime Bernier was there to greet them and to say that he supports the people, the real people. We want them back to work.
It looks like we could have a real estate-induced recession just around the corner. So does this make less government and regulation even more urgent for our economy? Right.
Well, that could easily be. 46% of Canadian families are within that $200 of insolvency, mostly thanks to the incompetence of the old-style, obsolete political parties that all overspend and rack up the national credit debt to bury our kids under a mountain of it, Therefore, it is urgent that the Government of Canada stop over-regulating our economy, wasting money, and crushing taxpayers. With real estate, it's an interesting problem that we have. British Columbia is one of the rates of real estate are just so high. Young people are complaining that they can't get into their first home the way I did. I paid $3,500 for my first real estate purchase many, many years ago, and you sure aren't going to get into the real estate market with that amount anymore.
What do you think the People's Party could do about what seems to be rampant government corruption? We look at the BC legislature where the Sergeant at Arms perhaps was dipping into the people's till, other things with accusations against major engineering companies. What can a government do, and how can they prevent corruption from creeping into itself?
Well, they can stop being so immoral. They can stop lying. They can stop having such a lack of character that people no longer want to vote. The one thing I saw when I was out on the beat, knocking on doors and talking to people even at SkyTrains, they just say, you're all a bunch of corrupt people anyways. A guy actually said that to me this morning at the SkyTrain, Maxime Bernier right there. He goes, oh, you're all corrupt. And I have a sense that people just don't believe in the process anymore. They're tired. They see greed. They see lies, scandal, backroom deals. I don't know if it's just my faith background, but I have more fear of God than I have of man. And so I do not want to be someone who is lying to the people that I will be representing. I believe integrity has to be restored to the House of Commons. I believe that character is something that Mr. Bernier is bringing to the table. I find him, to be an honest man. We have Justin Trudeau, who is the first Prime Minister in Canadian history to be found guilty of ethics violations. And that has happened several times, by the way, saying that neither he nor the PMO did anything wrong and that everyone should just trust him. Well, we don't. We do not trust him. And the people of Canada do not trust politicians. And the People's Party of Canada wants to bring a new season and a new day for every Canadian to begin to put some hope back into our process.
Why do you think Maxime Bernier would be the best Prime Minister of Canada?
Why would Maxime Bernier? Wow. He listens. I have seen him listen to person after person. I see a real gift in him of discernment. He listens and he discerns. What is the real issue? He cares about people. He cares about what is bothering them. He is listening to what groups and different ones feel is important. And he also can't be bought. He stands for what he believes in. He's able to say to certain groups, I've heard him say, I'm not going to do anything for the Christians special. I'm not going to do anything for the Sikhs or the Muslims. I'm not going to pander to small interest groups. I am going to do what's best for all Canadians, and that is to uphold our freedom. Freedom first, individual freedom. And it's a new sound, Jim, and I am just so honored to run with him, and I can't wait to see him as the Prime Minister of Canada.
If you're elected Monday, what are your plans for Burnaby South?
If I'm elected Monday, wow. Well, the first thing I'm going to do in Burnaby South is I am going to jump up and down and I'm going to scream. I'm going to be so excited I can't stand it, and I probably won't sleep. I'll be very, very excited. And the first thing I'm going to do is open my office doors to anyone who would like to share their ideas about Burnaby South and how federally we can help people. There's been a lot of talk about issues provincially. There's $1 billion in the Burnaby ridings coffer that they have. So when they're all complaining, the NDP is all complaining about, the homeless and those who don't, who aren't able to survive well, look no farther than the mayor's office, and some of the provincial issues. So federally, what do I want to do? Well, I want safe immigration so that we don't have a murder again like Marissa Shen. I want all of us not to be overwhelmed by the amount of people moving into all of our communities, that we are actually supporting. In Canada, Tax Freedom Day is on June 10th. The average family has to work for half the year just to pay their taxes. Maxime Bernier's plan is to lower taxes. The first thing I want to do for Burnaby people is to begin working towards a plan that will put more money back in their pocket.
What message would you like people to take away from this interview?
Well, I hope that they've heard that I'm honest. I'm not a typical politician. I never thought I would be in politics. What has brought me here is a crisis in our nation where we are not able to live the free life that we once thought, and we are not harnessing our resources, and we are not putting Canadians first. I'm in a place where I'm saying, let's address some of these issues where courage needs to arise in our nation. People are not courageous enough. Let's stand together.
Laura-Lynn, how can people find out more about your campaign and the People's Party of Canada?
Yes, we really want people to be able to go to our website, to the peoplespartyofcanada.ca, find out about the platform, enjoy the freedom that we are standing for all Canadians in this land. And, I hope people will vote for me on Monday because they hear the ring of truth in my voice. I hope that they feel the conviction of my heart that I will stand for every Canadian, not just those who believe as I do, but for all Canadians to have freedom in this land.
Laura-Lynn, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Jim.
My guest has been Laura-Lynn Tyler Thompson, People's Party of Canada candidate for the Burnaby South by-election that takes place on Monday, February 25th. I'm Jim Goddard. You're listening to the Goddard Report. If you have any questions for our guests or for the show, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.